Hey folks, I want to give you a short demo of Stilla. You can think of Stilla as an AI teammate. You can interact with Stilla in most of the places where you already collaborate with your coworkers. So in Slack, in Linear, and GitHub, you can just add tag Stilla and ask it to retrieve information for you from across all the tools it's connected to, or ask it to go out and do work across all these places. You can also ask Stilla to do that perpetually. So if there's a recurring task or something you want to delegate to Stilla, you can simply spin up an AI agent. And a lot of our customers, when they first saw Stilla, said, we already have AI agents. We started building some of this in-house. Most of them within, a matter of days ended up switching entirely over to Stilla simply because the depth of the integrations, while still being extremely easy to use. All you need to do is just use natural language instructions. You literally just tell Stilla what you want to delegate or how you want it to be done. And Stilla can, from that point onward, just carry that for you and your team. So in the background here, I have Stilla, the app itself. This is an interface where you can interact with Stilla directly. So outside of Slack and Linear and GitHub and all those, here you would work directly with Stilla. The cool thing with the desktop app is that it can also join you in meetings. So it can silently capture meeting notes for you and go from meeting notes to direct action items where Stilla can help you execute that work. So just to show you a demonstration how this works. So Stilla knows that I have an upcoming meeting called Record Stilla Demo, which is starting now. If I press join here, it's going to take me to that meeting on Google Meets, but I'm just going to press transcribe and we're going to pretend that we're in this meeting. So what Stilla is doing here is it's transcribing what I'm saying in real time. So my voice is coming through here. And if there would have been other participants in this call, they too would have, whatever they would have said would have come in here as well. And Stilla works with all meeting apps, whether that's Google Meet, Zoom, FaceTime, Huddles, anything that produces audio, Stilla is able to capture. So what Stilla will do from these meeting transcripts is try to figure out how it can help you do work. And it's going to produce beautiful meeting notes. But I think what's most interesting with Stilla is that it can help you execute the work. So for the sake of this demonstration, say, after this call, I want to schedule a all hands with the entire Stilla team to talk about our offsite. I also want to send an email to the team, sort of reminding them that we're going to go on this offsite to Lisbon in 2 weeks from now. Finally, I want to, as an example, to just demonstrate how Stilla works, I want to start working on a code change for the landing page. So let's add a sub page on stilla.ai/team. And on that page, we should have schedules for our offsites. And we should start listing this upcoming one going to Lisbon. So if I were to hang up on that call, Stilla would just start processing it. But again, because I'm actually not in a call, I'm just going to stop it. And we can see what Stilla does next. Okay. So let's take a look at what Stilla has done. So it has produced these notes from this, made up demo. I mentioned in a conversation that I wanted to send an invite to the whole team to this, as an all hands. I also said that I wanted to create a sub page on Stilla.ai. So Stilla has correctly identified the right repository here. And I want to create the sub page for /team. I want to talk about that in a second. And lastly, I said I want to send an email to the whole team. And Stilla has correctly found the right group to send this to, with some instructions. And what I think is really, really cool here, in no part of this meeting did I mention these dates. And so we look at what Stilla has actually done here. Based on the topics that came up throughout the meeting, Stilla went out to all the connected systems to better understand the context of the conversation. And from that, it identified the right dates and we're able to produce much more accurate instructions on the things that I actually wanted here. And this is the type of things that we would expect from a coworker, right? They would be in the know about some of these things. You wouldn't need to repeat them every time. And that's how Stilla works. So we have the scheduling event. I think that's quite self-explanatory. The code part, I think, is particularly interesting. So we said, look, we want to create this subpage on Stilla called /team, and that's where we should have instructions or details for our internal team on this type of offsites. Quite contrived example, but I think it illustrates the point that Stilla can code. So what I can do from here is just press launch agent, and that's starting a coding agent. And again, if I press send on the email thing, this is going to send this email to this specific address. So the coding agent is now spinning up and starting to write code. And as you would expect, you are able to follow along and you can interact with this coding agent and instruct it to do things differently, or you can just let it run as a background agent and just wait for the code changes to come into GitHub as a PR. So while that's running, I thought we'd go back and take a look at how we create automations for some of these things. So again, many of our customers already had some combination of AI agents with their company, but what they told us that they particularly liked is how Stilla drastically lowers the barriers to create AI agents. So we're going to go in here and we're going to create a new AI agent for a flow that is quite common for us. So out of the box, there's a bunch of examples of things that you can do. Some of them are specifically for you, like prepare me for my day or give me a summary of my day. You can also use Stilla to create bots. And these are particularly useful in Slack, where you can create an agent that executes a particular task in a particular channel. One common example is an internal support bot. So you say, basically, in the design channel, we want Stilla to always, this would be the place where Stilla would answer internal support topics. And every time it gets a message, it should search Notion, it should search Google Drive and produce an output. And what we can do from this, which is pretty cool, if there is no clear answer to that question, we're asking Stilla to find who would be the person who would know the answer best and tag them to bring them in. We can also add to this that, once you have the answer, if it's not documented, make sure to update the documentation with the right data. So for the purpose of this demonstration, let's put it into Stilla demo. So let's create this agent and just take a look at how that works. So now every time somebody mentions Stilla in this channel, this agent is going to run. And by default, this has access to all the tools so in our organization, we'll have access to all these tools. For the purpose of this demo, I'm going to restrict its access and say, actually, you don't have any access to that at all. And instead, we're going to add specific access. We're going to say, you can search anything in Notion. It's going to be able to update, so we need to read and write. And I'm going to say, you can access anything in our test demo channel. And here you can read and write whatever you want. It's totally up to you, the amount of flexibility you think that your agent should have. In most of our agents, we actually give them quite generous access, but if you want an agent to have a very specific sort of permissions and access models, you can steer that very specifically here. Now, if we activate this agent now and go over to Slack, now if we ask Stilla, what is our vacation policy? So here we can see that this specific internal support bot that we just created kicked in and led Stilla to find this information. And Stilla has found this from a Notion page called Vacation Policy, again, because in our instructions, we said, look, search for Notion and Google Drive, and that's where we had that information. Now, I see that this isn't accurate. So what I can do from here is say, actually, right. So originally Stilla said we had 145 days of paid vacation, and it found that in this Notion document. What I said was that's actually not correct. So Stilla has gone out and updated that page for us. So if we go to the page, we can now see that it says unlimited paid vacation. If we look at version history here, we can see that in the previous version of this page. Right. Here we go. So that's Stilla in Slack, and we can look at that specific run of Stilla to see exactly what it did. The other thing I want to create was I want to have an agent that can help us do things or carry something perpetually. So here I want to say, all right, so now we're building an agent that's going to help us keep our public documentation up to date. And Stilla helped us write everything we need here, and it's asking some follow-up questions. So which repository we want to monitor? We want to look at the Stilla repo. We want to have this repo and this repo. So, which Linux teams work should be checked? R&D is probably the best place. Documentation reports should be posted. Probably our engineering team. And that's basically it. So Stilla has now created an agent that reviews recent product changes and double checks our documentation to figure out if it's updated. So I'm going to give this one a name. I want to actually do one thing. So in this scenario, Stilla is pinging our channel about these changes. I want Stilla to actually start coding on these and send us pull requests so that we can review them. And by the time we accept them, they can go live. I think we have what we need now, and we can ask Stilla to activate this, or we can do it ourselves by activate over here. Before we do that, we can do a manual run just to try and see how this behaves. Awesome. So Stilla has now sent a Slack message. So we go over to Slack and join our engineering channel. We can see that Stilla has sent this message. Documentation update proposals ready. It has correctly identified a bunch of updates that we made over the past week and linked to the right sources for that material. And if we also go back to the run itself, we can see the things that Stilla have identified here. So Stilla has done something really clever here. So it has looked at all the PRs that have been merged over the last week. It has identified that we actually document changes in two places. One is our changelog, which powers this what's new component. And here Stilla has identified a lot of shorter snippets on how to announce product updates. The other part it has done is correctly identified that we have documentation in our sort of Stilla.ai repository. And for those, we have much richer and much more detailed set of documentations about the specific features. And Stilla has correctly identified a bunch of new features here. So we have folders coming out. We have the new agent builder that I'm demonstrating right here. And it's also proposing updates to our canvases. I think we're not articulating those particularly well. And I wouldn't be surprised if Stilla hasn't found details about those conversations from Slack as something we need to do. I think this is just a very short but still an incredible example of something that Stilla can help you automate simply by explaining the type of problem that you want to get solved. And now if we go back to the agent itself, if we activate this is a workflow that would run for me on a weekly basis, and we would make sure that our public documentation is up to date. Again, this is just a very small example of the type of things you can do. If you go to the agent builder, you can see that out of the box, Stilla comes with a bunch of different types of workflows for different types of work. We think that the combination of being able to access all of this information and connect it with code is particularly powerful, but I'm sure there's plenty of other workflows that you think would be interesting for the type of work that you do. Try it out and let us know how it works for you and how we can make it even better. Thank you.